So it finished Leeds 2, Newcastle 2, and here are a few of the things that we learned from the performance at Elland Road in the early kick-off on Saturday. And the first thing that we really learned was that our starts to games just aren't good enough at the moment. Apart from the Spurs game, if you take that out, we just don't start games well enough. And again, we fell behind early on. We conceded a goal. We could have been 2-0 down. Obviously, Bamford missed the penalty. Pope saved it, which was fantastic. And then we get the bit of luck we need to go and get a penalty down their end, and we equalise, and you think, right, let's take this game and build on it. But we never really truly did that. We got a little bit better at the end of the first half, but not really. We never really dominated the game in the way that we could and should have done and have done millions of times this season. And these slow starts are a little bit concerning. I think the second thing that we've learned recently is that our defending is not what it was earlier in the season. I don't really know the full reasons of that. I don't know whether it's just player fatigue, the issues we've got in midfield, which I'll get into in a minute, or whether it's just the case of we were overperforming at the start of the season. I don't know what the full answer is, but we are not defending as well as we have done, and we've now not kept a clean sheet in 8 matches, which is not really good enough for a team that is Champions League ambitions, and it's something that we have to address. We need to become more solid again and very difficult to beat, because all of the success we've had under Howe has come because we are hard to beat. I think it does highlight possibly the lack of depth that we do have in the squad, and the back five have played a heck of a lot of football this season, and credit to them, they've done an amazing job. But I just wonder if it's because it's the end of the season, things are just catching up with us a little bit, but we can no longer sort of rely on keeping a clean sheet, and that's a bit concerning when you have to score 2 goals to win a match. That the pressure then builds up on that. The third thing that I think has become really obvious in the last few games, in fact not just the Leeds game, but is we do miss Longstaff. Like we're missing Longstaff massively in games when he's not playing. He does the dirty work, he does that stuff that no one else that you never really give credit for in a sense, but when he's not there, God, do we miss him? And we really are missing Longstaff at the moment. Couple that with the fact that Bruno is clearly not 100% fit. He is not operating at the levels that we know he can, that we know he's capable of, and it's the fact that both of those players, Longstaff's injury and Bruno's kind of not full fitness, they are really having an impact on this team, and ultimately games of football at this level are won and lost in midfield, and at the moment our midfield is not what it was. I think the fact is we're light in midfield, and I think the decision to let Shelby go in the January transfer window but not replace him is coming back to bite us a little bit at this point now. I'm hoping we can just struggle over the line and get the results we need to secure that top 4 finish, but it is an issue that we don't really have the options in the squad to kind of just replace Longstaff at the moment. That will come in time clearly, but it is costing us at the moment, and we are struggling with that fact. The fourth thing that I really wanted to highlight was the Isak and Wilson thing. Now, I was quite happy to see Isak start alongside Wilson at the start of the game. I believed that it could work against the Leeds team, and look, the team performance wasn't good enough today, but I think really it has to be said, it hasn't worked, Isak and Wilson playing together, in the sense that when we start a game with both of them, it doesn't seem to work, in the sense that when we start a game with both of them, it just seems to me like Isak cannot get into the game for whatever reason. And part of that might be because of what's going on behind them in midfield, and I get that. But ultimately, Isak's not been as effective stuck on the wing as he has been when he plays through the middle. And I think for the last 3 games, I think Howe will revert back to just starting one of them and then having the other as an option to come off the bench. The best combinations we've had with Wilson and Isak is when one of them's come off the bench. And if they've both been on the pitch together, that's when we've had the most success. So later in games, when teams are tired and we can bring one of them on to throw a whole new problem at them, that seems to be the way to do it. And I think for the last 3 games, we need to go back to that formula and hope that it works for us. I think longer term with them two, there's clearly probably a way of making them both fit into a team and working well together. But the issue with that is it would probably require a change in formation and a change in style. And obviously with just a few games left in the season, we're not going to do that. It's something for next season for Eddie Howe to think about. But at the moment, we just need to stick to what we know works. And I think the fact is we can't see Isak and Wilson on the same starting 11 in the last 3 games. And the fifth thing that I really wanted to highlight in this game was just our set pieces are just not good enough at the moment. They haven't been all seasons, if we're brutally honest. I know Trippier has the ability to take great free kicks and great dead balls, but quite often they're not. And it is a bit of an issue that we can't mix it up, and we're not mixing it up, and that we only have Trippier who takes every single thing pretty much. And I'd like to see a bit more variation in our approach. Again, next season, I think that is something that Howe will probably work on. And we might even bring players in who can give us different options there. But I don't just want to blame Trippier, because I'd kind of loathe to criticise the guy, even though he's maybe not had his best game today. The fact is, our attacking players as well, and defenders going up for corners and stuff, then none of them are ever getting really that close to scoring from these set pieces. So it's a team thing. It's not just Trippier. I'm not just blaming this on Trippier. It's a team issue. It's something that we need to address. It's something that needs looking at. And I think it will be in the summer. But really, if we can just try and find a bit of magic in the last few games, it will give us some cheap goals. That's going to help us massively as we search for the 6 points we need to qualify for the top 4. So overall, my conclusions to the game at Leeds are that a point isn't a disaster. I said that before the game, and I still maintain that. But the fact of the matter is, if we'd have beaten Leeds, the pressure would have been on Man United and Liverpool, not us. And I think Leeds weren't good. Leeds were not good today, and we struggled against a bad team. We did, and look, Leeds will be delighted with a point, but at the end of the day, they were there for the taking. It's just we could not get our game going for whatever reason. Even though we've had some big wins recently, it's kind of masked some of the wider issues in the way that we're playing these games at the moment. And I get it's the end of a long season. I'm not criticising them, because it's been fantastic, and the team spirit carries us a long way, but just thinking, trying to get through the last few games, it's just something that we need to look at. And ultimately, this result does put more pressure on us now as well, because it means that our last 2 home games, really, we need to win both of them, because I don't want to be going into the Chelsea game needing a result. It might come to that, I don't know, but we have 2 opportunities to win 2 games in a few days at St James's, and it could be magical if we do it. It really could. But the way we're playing at the moment is concerning, and the pressure is on us, and we have to deal with that pressure. We have to find a way of cutting through that pressure and dealing with it, and then getting the results we need at St James's Park. We have to remember the race for the top 4 was never ever going to be simple. You're at the top end of the table, so teams pick up results all the time. It's not like when you're down the bottom, where teams don't pick up points very often, and if you get a win, it's great. You have to be relentless if you're at the top, and if you're going for the top 4, you've got to keep getting results. Look, we got a point today. It's not a bad point. It gets us one of the 7 we needed. We just need to win the next 2 games, and we're there. We can do it. I believe we will do it, but it is pressure, and the players have to respond well to that pressure. And the fact we've got 2 home games is in our favour, obviously, and I think that if the fans can be united with the players, we can get over that line and get that top 4 finish. And the last point really is early kickoffs. They can get in the bin for me. I just hate them. I don't like them. We never do well at them, and I just wish that they didn't exist, because for whatever reason, Newcastle United do not cope well when it's an early kick-off. But anyway, let's bring on Brighton, let's bring on Leicester, let's get this done, let's get those 6 points, and let's celebrate Newcastle getting into the Champions League.